I'm going to talk to you today about meaning in everything that happens in your life. And I'm going to tie it up with the Impact One, Impact Millions on the last part of the talk. But it is about my own life story. So as you know that, no, you probably don't know, but 20 years ago, I set up YCAP as a foundation, Yayasan Cinta Anak Bangsa. At that point in time, I had already 2 children, so age 2 and 4, and YCAP was my kind of non-biological child number 3. Then I have number 4, which is Joey just graduated about, last year or this year. Yeah, so this is my youngest children, my youngest son's friends who organized these TED Talks. So the story went back to 1999 when I set up the foundation, thinking that I had figured everything out. People talk about meaning and purpose in life, right? Everybody wants to do something purposeful. I thought I had it all. Then YCAP was born. Fast forward 19 years later, this is something that I didn't think a part of my life that actually mattered to me or mattered to the world, for that, so to speak. But then just last year, that was September, I got invited to a program for social entrepreneurs in Harvard Kennedy School. And little did I know that that particular education phase, that was 2 weeks kind of program for social entrepreneur, actually changed the whole narrative of YCAP. The number one questions that people ask me, why do you do the things you do? Why did you set up a nonprofit social enterprise instead of going into business or working in the big companies? I always talk to them. I always respond by saying that it is my calling that God put in my heart, which is true. That was my 26th birthday. I was 26. So who's 26 here or about to be 26? It's a very critical year, by the way. A lot of things can happen and will happen, magical year. So I was 26, having a birthday, praying that night, what is it that you want, God? What is it that you want me to do for the rest of my life? You see, for a 26 years old, to ask that question, it's kind of weird. Usually people ask that question when they're 76. But I'm glad I did it when I'm 26, so I'm giving the best part of my life, not the rest part of my life, to serve others. So that was then. I asked about meaning. I asked, what is it that I need to do? And YCAP was placed in my heart, and I set it up back in 1999. But a little story that I was pushed to realize, it's during my last class, last day in Harvard, this professor, apparently celebrity professor Marshall Guns, talked about personal story. He said, when people ask you why you do the things you do, great if you talk about the spiritual dimension. It's good that you actually talk about it. People don't have that higher presence in their life at this very young age. But I'm sure there's more. So they push and push and push. And that day, a kind of part of my life, one part of my life that I tried to hide, I tried to bury, came to life. And I didn't realize how powerful it is. The story is this. I was 18. I was facing final exam. Eptanas zaman itu namanya. Ketahuan zaman umur ya. Sekarang UN. My dad got a stroke, brain hemorrhage, Monday, right? And died Friday, 5 days. That was during the entire week of Eptanas. And then more. I have another week to go. Losing my dad at the dramatic part of my life, very important week of my life, was hard. I mean, losing a dad is hard. But losing it at that point of time was tragic. But I chose not to feel anything. I kind of delay my grief because I have to graduate. Can you imagine if I lost my dad and fail? That would double tragedy. So then my choice, I think, to bury that story, to bury my feelings, led to me burying that part, because the death of my dad led to my discontinuation of my school at that point of time. I was one of the top students, but I was the only one in my batch who did not actually go to university. I had to delay because my mom was a household mom, didn't even know where my dad's bank was. So it was really chaotic. So I had to deal with the loss, I had to deal with the delayed grief, and then I had to deal with not going to school. So that part of my life was very, what's the word? Shameful. Because everybody talks, when you don't go to university, everybody talk, why? Now they call it, there's a word for this, gap year. That's the Zaman now version of not going to school. They say it's a gap year. I respect that. But for me, it was circumstantial. I couldn't go to school because I did not have money, right? So to make things actually more dramatic, the morning that my dad died, that was 1 a.m., by 8 a.m., this is a university in Canada, gave us a call. There's no Google, there's no internet, nothing. So this is all. So I was actually applied as an art student. So I sent my portfolio, and then they called me to tell me that I got accepted. But can you imagine? I just got home from the hospital, losing my dad, and getting that call from the university. What would I say? Well, I said, I don't know, because they were telling me when to pay the tuition, and I said, I don't know. I just lost my dad. And they were saying, sorry, but then at that point of time, I was going down the spiral of darkness because I didn't know if I could even go back to school, right? But I'm the youngest of 3 siblings. I have 2 older brothers. So I said, I need to do something. I'm probably gonna take up a job. Can you imagine an 18-year-old thinking to get a job to help save the family? But that is a part of my life that was not told. For 19 years, I never tell that story. I don't know why. But only in Harvard did I actually get exposed to the possibility that that's your personal story. That's your life. Your life is impacted. I mean, later I picked up university and all of that, but I had to work while going to school, right? I mean, most of you probably don't have to go through that, but I did. And you have to delay your dreams, you have to delay everything, you have to hide from your friends. That's, I think, one of the point of my life which I suffer. That's the kind of suffering for teenagers, and it's suffering for the entire family. But then I learned that suffering is good. C.S. Lewis said, pain is God's megaphone. When you are going through pain, God is trying to tell you something. God is trying to talk to you. So what you need to do is to open your heart and hear what is it to be said to you. So for 90 years, I never tell this story, but in Harvard, I learned that this is the one story, the human story. It's more powerful and stronger to be told to everybody. So I walked out with 2 dimensions now. When people ask me, why do you do the things you do? Why did you set up YCAP 20 years ago? I say there's a spiritual element to it, which is a calling. This is me speaking to God and give birth to YCAP. But number 2, there's an experiential element, which my experience, which I thought was shameful, I thought was something I want to bury, I'm not gonna tell the world, I want to hide from, this actually has meaning. It has meaning why I actually, in 20 years, 56,000 school dropouts have gone through our Rumah Belajar and have been put back to school. And now, only this year, we sent out our first batch of university students, the children of the mothers of microfinance that we serve. And 3 million have already been touched by the work of YCAP in 20 years. So my life is impacted, and I impact millions. Imagine if each of you here, I don't know, 100 of you here, if your life is impacted, if you choose to do something to change the life of someone, there will be 100 million at least life will be affected. You see, start with easy, your mbak at home, your driver, people who work in your family. Make sure that their kids don't drop out of school. As easy as that. You know, there's 2.5 million who drops out of K to 12 years education every year in Indonesia. That's half of Singapore. But if you decide that you'll take care of your domestic helpers, 1-to-1 ratio, this dropout will come down. And it has come down. In the communities that we serve, we see the decline in dropout rate from 11 to 1% between 2012 and 2019. So I want to talk about impact. Impact, it's an important thing. Impact, it's something that is measured. What is it that you want to get out of your life with? Is it quantitative? Is it qualitative? You decide, because it's your life. You're going to write that essay of your life. But you need to be fulfilled. So everything that happened in your life, embrace it. The bad things, it's okay. Talk about it. Remember Oprah? Sexually harassed since she was like young by her own dad. He talked about it openly. And that empowers her, empowers the entire world. So impact one, impact millions. Because you have the potential to do that only when you find your passion and you want to do that, you know, purposeful, that your life will bless others as well. So thank you for your time. I hope my story, you know, can relate to you. Thank you.